Hello there, ICS3U folks. This is hopefully going to be a short video talking about one of the exercises from last day. And I just want to show you a few things. Encourage you that the programs that we're writing are starting to get quite large and complicated when we start talking about arrays and things like that. So I did want to mention a point, but I wanted to show you my program, my solution. Your solution might be a little bit different. Um, I'm doing the very last one where we read it in from the file instead of the keyboard, but essentially it's the same problem except for you don't have to watch me type out all the names and stuff. There's my text file, array.exercise. You see I've got 6 records, FERD and their age, and then there's 6 people, and the first line here picks off the 6, parses it to an integer, and then I use that to allocate space for my arrays. Okay, um, and then a little for loop inputs. And this is the nice thing about arrays is this is all the file is really open for, right? It goes through this little loop, closes, and then I have everything in my array, my name array and my age array, and then I can deal with it in my program, not reading to and from a file. So one of the messages is keep your files open for as short a time as possible. Get the data into your arrays and then close the file. And then for the processing part, there's actually 2 things. One was to look for the oldest person. And notice here, I actually didn't have to keep track of um, the person's name. All I wanted to do is figure out, and your solution might be different, but I just kept track of where the oldest person was in the array. So oldest loc or oldest location, I just had this little if statement that kept track of where the oldest person lived in the array. Then this line added up all of the ages when it went through this for loop. And notice I'm using num of recs here. I could use name.length, I could have, or age.length would have worked. And then a processing for the average age, and then it outputted just fine. I'll show you that it, hopefully there's no error messages. No, good. The oldest person was Dref, who was 45 years old. The average age was 21.7. And how my program worked was by keeping track of the where the oldest person was. Then I was able to locate their age and their name without having any more variables. All I had is that one integer variable that was kind of the address of where the oldest person was. Okay. I do want to mention before I go back to this is I did use a try catch. So I had most of my program, my entire program, in a try and then a few catches to deal with in a poor way. I realize those few exceptions. The thing that I want to mention is this idea of the arrays, uh, name and age, and the index. They kind of, and this was what I was looking for, right? I was looking for the spot. This ended up being, get a different color here. I want a different color. There. This ended up being the oldest location, right? Because it looped through. And then by that, I could get both Dref's name and his age by just keeping track of the location. In fact, one way to think of these, if I had a whole bunch of arrays, each with a different, maybe city or subject 1, subject 2, subject 3, something like that, that would represent would represent all of the information about Dref. And it's almost like this becomes a record for Dref. This isn't how the information is stored in the computer in memory, but we could think of it that way, right? And then an index value of 2 represents FERDET, and an index value of 0 represents FERD and everything we know about FERD, even if we have a whole pile of different arrays holding different information. We can kind of link the person and their their information with the index of the array. Okay, so I wanted to point that out, that I don't necessarily have to have a whole bunch of extra variables. As long as I'm just thinking about the index of the array, I can read off all I need to know about the person. All right, now if you haven't had a chance to try that program, give it a go, get it working. It's got, essentially, this program's got everything in the whole unit that we've covered: arrays, reading from a file, some data casting, parsing, and then some old stuff as well, as far as some loops and some comparisons and some totals. This is a great program. So make sure yours gets working.